And it all started that Saturday afternoon in Miami's most expensive boutique, when Elena Martinez heard those words come out of the mouth of the man she loved. The laugh echoed throughout the entire store. Julian Ashford, 32 years old, heir to a real estate fortune, body sculpted from private gyms and an ego the size of his wealth, held a neon orange bikini between his fingers as if it were a weapon. The tiny fabric flapped in the air conditioning as he watched Elena with that cruel smile she knew so well. "Seriously, honey, put this on, and I'll marry you tomorrow." Elena stood in the middle of the boutique, her generous curves wrapped in a floral dress that she had sewn herself. 28 years old, dark skin lit by the Florida sun, brown eyes that have cried too much. But not today. Today, something different was happening behind that look. The saleswomen laughed softly. One of them whispered something to her colleague. Elena saw everything through the reflections in the full-length mirrors that dominated the store. "Julian, that's not funny. I'm not trying to be funny." He threw the bikini onto the marble counter. "I'm being realistic. Will you marry me? Prove that you can take care of yourself. Get in that bikini and take a photo. Post it on Instagram. Show that you have discipline." The word fell like poison. Discipline. As if Elena's body was evidence of laziness. As if your extra pounds were a character defect. As if she didn't wake up every day at 5 in the morning to sew custom dresses. As if she hadn't built a loyal clientele on her own in 2 years of hard work. They had been together for 2 years. 2 years of dinners where Julian ordered her salad without asking. 2 years of affectionate comments about academia. 2 years of marriage promises that were always accompanied by conditions. "Lose 10 kilos and we'll talk. When you lose weight, my mother will accept you better. Baby, it's just a matter of health. I worry about you." But today had been different. Today, Julian had proposed to Elena in front of his friends at brunch in South Beach. French champagne, ocean view, hired photographer. Elena said yes, excited, believing that he finally accepted her, believing that the 2 years of subtle humiliations were over, believing that he had matured. What an illusion. 3 hours later, he dragged her to that boutique and destroyed everything. The store manager, a blonde woman in stiletto heels and a fake smile, approached with a tape measure in her hand. "Miss, would you like me to take your measurements? Maybe we can order something in your size." The tone was polite, the message devastating. Julian laughed loudly. "Good idea, but it'll take about 6 months, right? Until then, Elena can work on it." He lightly squeezed her waist as if evaluating a defective product. Elena felt heat rise to her neck, not out of shame, of fury. She remembered her mother years ago saying the same thing. "Daughter, you need to lose weight if you want a good husband." As if a woman's value fit on a scale. As if a man's goodness was measured by his wife's thinness. Elena looked at the bikini on the counter. Size S. She wore XL comfortably, and was proud of it, or at least tried to be. But there, in that moment, with Julian and the salesgirls looking at her like she was a walking joke, something inside her broke. Not in the way they expected. Broke for the better. Then, Julian crossed his arms, watching her with that look of someone evaluating a bad investment. "Are you going to try it or not? Because if you really love me, you're going to make the effort. I deserve a woman who takes care of herself." Elena took a deep breath. Her fingers tightened on the strap of her bag. For 2 years, she swallowed comments like that. For 2 years, she believed the problem was with her, that she wasn't good enough, that I needed to change to be loved. But in that moment, looking at the man who claimed to love her, she saw the truth with brutal clarity. Julian never loved her. He loved the idea of having a submissive woman, a woman he could mold, a woman who served to inflate his ego every time she diminished herself. And Elena was tired of putting herself down. "No," Julian blinked. "What?" "I said no." Elena took the bag. His hands didn't shake. His voice didn't falter. "I'm not trying on that bikini. I'm not going to lose weight for you. I'm not going to marry you." The silence in the store was absolute. The saleswomen stopped moving the racks. The manager held the measuring tape in the air, mouth open. Julian stood still, processing the words as if they were written in another language. He gave that nervous laugh of someone who isn't used to hearing no. "Elena, you're being dramatic. I only want what's best for you. For us." "No, Julian, you want what's best for you." Elena took a step toward the door. Each word came out firm, measured, powerful. "And one thing, you're going to regret this." He rolled his eyes, regaining his arrogance. "Of course. And what are you going to do? Sue me? Expose me on social media? Honey, you don't have half the followers I have. No one will care." Elena turned around for the last time. His eyes showed no tears. They demonstrated something much more dangerous. Determination. "You'll find out." She opened the glass door and left, leaving Julian standing in the middle of the boutique, with the neon orange bikini still in his hand and a confused expression on his face. As Elena walked down the Miami sidewalk, the warm sun hitting her face. She felt something she hadn't felt in years. Freedom. His steps were light, his chest open. For the first time in 2 years, she wasn't trying to take up less space in the world. And Julian had no idea that this woman, the same woman he underestimated, humiliated, and discarded, carried a secret that could destroy everything he had built. Because Elena Martinez wasn't just a talented seamstress who served clients at home. She was the forgotten niece of Victoria Salazar, the legendary East Coast real estate investor, the woman who built a hotel and resort empire from the ground up. And 3 weeks before that cursed Saturday, Elena had received a call that would change her life forever. Victoria was sick, advanced stage cancer, and she had chosen Elena as the sole heir to her fortune, somewhere around $400 million. Elena hadn't told anyone, not even for Julian. She wanted to wait for the right moment. She wanted to make sure he loved her for who she was, not what she had. Now she had her answer, and that answer was accompanied by a plan, but Julian didn't know that yet. That night, as he posted photos of the brunch on Instagram with the caption, "She said yes," Elena sat in Victoria's lawyer's office, signing documents that would make her one of the richest women in Miami. And the first item on your priority list? Buy the building where Julian's company was located. If you're loving this story of turnaround and justice, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, because what comes next will leave your jaw dropped. 48 hours after the boutique, Julian Ashford posted a photo on Instagram. He was on a yacht, shirtless, holding a glass of white wine. The caption read, "Single again. Sometimes you need to cut the dead weight from your life." Literally. The photo had more than 20,000 likes. The comments were a mix of support from his friends and curious questions from his followers. What dead weights? What happened to the bride? Are you free? Julian responded to some with laughing emojis, as if Elena was a joke he had finally discarded. Meanwhile, Elena was sitting on the balcony of her Aunt Victoria's apartment, looking out over the Miami Beach ocean. The wind stirred her hair as she held a cup of tea, her eyes fixed on the horizon. Victoria was beside her, wrapped in a woolen shawl despite the heat. The illness had aged the woman. Gray hair, pale skin, hands shaking slightly, but her eyes still sparkled with that sharp intelligence that built an empire. "Did you see his post?" Victoria asked, her voice husky but firm. "See? And?" Elena took a sip of tea. "And nothing. He's doing exactly what I expected." Victoria smiled. It was a tired but proud smile. "You learned well. Never let idiots know you're playing games." They were silent for a moment, listening to the waves crash on the beach. Victoria had called Elena to Miami 3 weeks before the disastrous proposal. They hadn't spoken in years. Elena's family had distanced themselves from Victoria after a fight over inheritance that Elena didn't even know the details of. But when Victoria discovered her terminal cancer, she decided to mend bridges. And he chose Elena as his heir, not the greedy cousins, not the nephews who only showed up when they needed money. Elena, the forgotten seamstress who lived in a small apartment and built her dreams with her own hands. "Are you sure about this?" Elena had asked at that first meeting, with the legal documents spread out on the lawyer's desk. "Absolute." Victoria held her hand. "You're the only one who's never asked me for anything. The only one who works hard and doesn't expect the world to owe you anything. You remind me of myself 40 years ago." Now, sitting on that balcony, Victoria watched her niece with a mixture of curiosity and concern. "What are you going to do with him?" Elena smiled for the first time in days. It wasn't a happy smile. It was calculated, dangerous. "I'm going to buy the building. Where is his company?" Victoria raised an eyebrow. "Is that all?" "No." Elena placed the cup on the table. "I'm also going to buy the club where he plays tennis, his favorite restaurant, the spa where he gets a massage every Saturday, and then when he's comfortable, when he thinks he's completely forgotten about me, I'll show up." Victoria laughed, a low, hoarse laugh that ended in a cough. When she recovered, she wiped her eyes. "You are my niece without a doubt." But Elena wasn't laughing. She was thinking, planning, each move calculated like pieces on a chessboard, because this was the truth. Julian hadn't just humiliated her in that boutique. He had done this systematically for 2 years. Subtle comments at parties, disapproving looks when she got dessert, that way of introducing her to friends as "my girlfriend Elena," without ever adding "my beautiful girlfriend" or "my talented girlfriend," as if being with him was compliment enough. And Elena had swallowed it all. But now she had power, money, resources, and something much more dangerous: nothing to lose. Meanwhile, Julian was in the office of his company, Ashford Properties, a mid-sized development company he inherited from his father and pretended to manage while the managers did the real work. He was sitting in the leather chair, feet on the table, talking to his best friend, Derek. "Man, you did the right thing." Derek was leaning back on the couch, drinking whiskey at 3 in the afternoon. Elena was cool, but You deserve someone on your level, you know? Exactly. Julian swiveled his chair. I tried to help her. 2 years of trying to motivate her to take care of herself, but she didn't want to change. It wasn't my fault. Derek shook his head in false understanding. Women, man. They think we have to accept everything. But relationships are about mutual effort, right? Julian agreed, convinced he was being reasonable. In his mind, the humiliation at the boutique had been a necessary ultimatum. He truly believed he was helping Elena get better. Narcissists always believe they are doing favors. Julian's phone rang. It was Lauren, the manager of the building where Ashford Properties was headquartered. Mr. Ashford, we need to talk about the lease. Julian frowned. What's with the contract? There's 1 year left to renew. It's just, the building has been sold, and the new owner wants to renegotiate the terms. Sold? Julian took his feet off the table. What do you mean sold? The owner would never sell it. He said it was a long-term investment. Lauren hesitated. He got an offer he couldn't refuse. $10 million above market value. The sale closed within 24 hours. Julian felt a shiver run up his spine. $10 million above market? Who did this? Who bought it? A company called Salazar Holdings. The name meant nothing to Julian. He hung up, irritated but not worried. It was probably just another investor looking to increase the rent. He would deal with it. What he didn't know was that Salazar Holdings was just one of dozens of companies in the portfolio that Elena now controlled, and that building was just the beginning. That same afternoon, Elena entered another office, this one much larger, with a panoramic view of Biscayne Bay. It was the headquarters of Salazar Holdings, now officially under her command. Victoria's lawyer, a serious man named Marcus, sat across the table with a stack of documents. All ready. Marcus pushed the papers towards her. The Ashford Properties building is now yours. Do you want me to send the lease renegotiation notice? Elena took the pen but didn't sign it immediately. She looked at Marcus with that calculating look she was learning to use. Not yet. First, I want you to find out everything about Julian Ashford. Debts, lawsuits, bad deals, women he treated badly. Everything. Marcus made a note. It'll take a few days. No rush. Elena finally signed the documents. I have all the time in the world. And she had. Because while Julian was posting photos of yachts and making dead-weight jokes, Elena was building a silent web around him, buying properties, making contacts, studying his every move like a predator studies its prey. Julian had made the classic arrogant mistake. He underestimated the woman he humiliated, and now she was about to teach him a lesson he would never forget. But before that happened, something unexpected was about to change everything. Because that same night, while Elena was reviewing contracts in the office, her cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. She answered. Elena Martinez? Yes. My name is Sophia Chen. I was engaged to Julian Ashford 3 years ago. Elena sat up straighter in her chair. Was it? He broke up with me the same way he broke up with you, in front of everyone in the world, because of my weight. Sophia's voice was shaking, but there was determination in it. I saw his post on Instagram, and I know you're planning something. Elena was silent. I want to help. Sophia took a deep breath, because he didn't just do this to you and me. He did it to at least 5 women I know, and we all deserve justice. A slow smile formed on Elena's face. She was no longer alone in this. Elena hung up the phone and stared at the screen for a long moment. Sophia Chen. The name echoed in her mind like a distant bell. Julian had never mentioned a Sophia. I had never talked about previous brides. He always hinted that Elena was special, the only woman he had ever taken seriously. Another lie. Marcus, the lawyer, noticed the change in her face. Is there a problem? No. Elena put away her cell phone. On the contrary, things just got a lot more interesting. 2 days later, Elena and Sophia met at a discreet cafe in downtown Miami. It wasn't the kind of place Julian frequented. No glass walls, no Instagram, no influencers posing for photos. Just a simple cafe with wooden tables and soft music. Sophia arrived on time. 31 years old, Asian American, short black hair, sharp curves wrapped in an impeccable gray blazer. She worked as a financial analyst at a large investment firm. His eyes were intelligent, calculating, and carried the same hurt that Elena knew so well. They greeted each other with a firm handshake. Thank you for coming. Elena served tea for both of them. Thank you for agreeing to listen to me. Sophia took a deep breath. I know this must seem weird, but when I saw that post of him calling you dead weight, I felt it all again. The anger, the humiliation, and I decided I needed to do something. Elena leaned forward. Tell me what happened. Sophia held the cup with both hands, as if seeking warmth even in the hot Miami climate. I met Julian 4 years ago. I was thinner then. He makes a point of choosing women at vulnerable moments in their lives. I had just lost my mother to cancer. I was fragile. He was charming, caring. He made me feel seen. Elena knew this script well. We got engaged after a year. But during the wedding preparations, I gained weight. Grief, stress, hormones, it doesn't matter why. I gained about 30 pounds. Sophia paused, her eyes glistening with unshed tears, and Julian started to change. Comments on my outfit, diet suggestions. He canceled the wedding 3 weeks before the date, in front of his entire family, at a rehearsal dinner. Sophia's voice shook. He said he couldn't marry someone who gave up on herself. He said I was different from the woman he had fallen in love with. He said he deserved a wife who took pride in her appearance. Elena felt anger rising in her throat. And no one defended you? His mother laughed. His brothers were silent. My own father told me to lose weight and win Julian back. Sophia wiped her eyes. It took me 2 years to recover. Therapy, rebuilding self-esteem, everything. And then I saw him doing the same thing to you. They were silent for a moment. 2 women united by the pain caused by the same man. Elena finally spoke. You said you know other women. 5, in total. Sophia opened her bag and took out a small notebook. I did my homework. They all have similar stories. Public humiliation, comments about weight, cruel breakups. Julian has a pattern. He looks for women who are smart, talented, but insecure about their appearance. He builds trust, then systematically destroys it. Elena took the notebook. Inside were names, dates, brief descriptions. Each story was a variation of the same nightmare. Why did you keep all this? Sophia smiled. A cold, calculated smile. Because I knew one day he would go too far. And when he did, I would be ready. Elena looked at that woman across the table and saw something she herself was becoming. A survivor turned strategist. You want revenge? No. Sophia shook her head. I want justice. There is a difference. Revenge is emotional. Justice is calculated. Elena felt a shiver of recognition. Victoria had said something similar days before. So what do you propose? Sophia leaned forward, lowering her voice. You have money now. I looked up Victoria Salazar. It wasn't hard to connect the dots. You bought his company building. This is just the beginning, right? Elena neither confirmed nor denied, just waited. Here's what I know. Julian is negotiating a huge contract with the city of Miami, an urban revitalization project in the port area. If he succeeds, he will triple the equity one of his. He goes from average heir to royal tycoon. And the contract depends on approval by several committees. Environmental, financial, social analysis. Any scandal could destroy his chances. Sophia pushed the notebook towards Elena. Imagine if all these women decided to speak out publicly. Imagine the exposure, the cancellation. Julian would lose everything. Elena looked at the notebook, then at Sophia. You want me to organize this? I want us to organize this. Sophia crossed her arms. But it has to be at the right time. If we attack now, he will defend himself and become the victim. Men like him are good at that. We need to wait until he's at his peak. When he thinks he has completely won, then the fall will hurt. Elena was silent, processing. Sophia wasn't asking for impulsive revenge. She was proposing a strategic war. How long do you think we need? 2 months, maybe 3. Sophia checked something on her cell phone. The final hearing for approval of the project is in January. Let's build the case until then. Gather evidence. Talk to the other women. And when Julian is celebrating his victory, she made a gesture with her hand as if knocking over a tower of cards. Elena smiled for the first time since arriving at the cafe. Have you talked to the others? 2 agreed immediately. 3 are still scared. But if you get into it, if they see they're not alone, I think they'll all come around. Elena stretched out her hand. Then we're together. Sophia shook her hand firmly. Together. Meanwhile, Julian was in a meeting at the City Hall office, presenting the revitalization project to a group of bored public servants. He wore his best suit, his most confident smile, his most persuasive voice. This project is not just about money. Julian pointed to the PowerPoint with colorful graphics. It's about transforming Miami into a global benchmark for sustainable urban development. Jobs, tourism, economic growth, everyone wins. The employees nodded politely. One of them asked some technical questions that Julian deflected with empty corporate jargon. Derek, sitting next to him, whispered, "You killed it, man. That's your contract." Julian smiled. He really believed that. In his mind, the universe was finally aligning. He had gotten rid of Elena, the dead weight that held back his public image. He was free to find a more suitable woman. And now, this contract would cement his position as one of Miami's most important businessmen. He was at the top, or at least he thought he was. Because that same afternoon, while Julian was celebrating with champagne in a trendy bar, Elena was in a very different meeting. Victoria had gathered a small group of people in the living room of her apartment. In addition to Elena and Marcus, there were 2 other faces. Margaret, a retired investigative journalist who had previously worked for the Miami Herald, and Thomas, a private investigator specializing in corporate cases. These are people I trust. Victoria made the introductions, her voice weak but determined. They will help you build your case against Julian Ashford. Margaret, a black woman in her 60s with reading glasses hanging around her neck, leafed through Sophia's notebook with a serious expression. 5 confirmed victims, clear pattern of psychological abuse. If we can get video interviews, written testimony, and any additional evidence, we have the material for a devastating story. She looked at Elena. Are you ready for this to be public? Your name will come up. Elena didn't hesitate. I am. Thomas, a thin man in his 40s with a discreet appearance, was typing something on his laptop. I'm looking into Julian Ashford's finances. There are some interesting inconsistencies. It appears he diverted funds from previous projects to cover personal debts. Nothing illegal yet, but morally questionable. If I dig deeper, I might find something solid. Marcus clasped his hands together. So the plan is twofold. Public exposure of the victims and financial investigation. Triple, Elena corrected. Everyone looked at her. I also want to buy the land Julian needs for the revitalization project. Victoria smiled proudly. This land is not for sale. Everything is for sale at the right price. Elena turned to Marcus. Find out who owns it. Make them an offer they can't refuse. But wait until December to close the deal. I want Julian to think he's safe. Marcus made a note. This will cost at least $40 million. I know. Victoria watched her niece with admiration. In just 2 weeks, Elena had gone from being an insecure seamstress to a ruthless strategist. Are you sure about this, sweetie? Victoria asked softly. Once you get into this game, there's no going back. Elena thought the boutique, in the orange bikini, in the saleswomen's laughter, in Julian's cruel smile as he humiliated her. He thought of Sophia, in the other 5 women, in all the women Julian had destroyed and discarded as if they were nothing. I am sure. That night, while Julian slept peacefully in his penthouse apartment, dreaming of million-dollar contracts and bigger yachts, Elena was awake. She wasn't sewing. I wasn't crying. I wasn't doubting it. She was planning. And for the first time in years, Elena Martinez felt like she had control over her own life. What Julian didn't know, what he could never imagine, was that the woman he had thrown away like trash was about to become his worst nightmare, and the clock was already ticking. December 23rd. Julian Ashford was on top of the world. The final hearing for approval of the urban revitalization project had been scheduled for the following day, Christmas Eve. The city hall wanted to close the year with good news. Julian already had chilled champagne waiting in the office. Derek had reserved an entire club for the celebration party. Everything was perfect. He was sitting in a beachfront restaurant celebrating with some investors. Loud laughter, expensive cigars, promises of obscene profits. Julian felt that addictive euphoria of power, the feeling that the universe was conspiring in his favor. His cell phone vibrated. Message from Lauren, the building manager. Mr. Ashford, the new owner wants to meet with you tomorrow at 9 a.m. before the town hall hearing. Julian frowned. How inconvenient. He had more important things to do than discuss rent. She quickly responded, I can't. Tell her to reschedule for January. The answer came within seconds. She insists. She said it's urgent and that you'll want to hear what she has to say. Julian rolled his eyes. Probably some eager businesswoman wanting to raise the rent before he gets even richer. Typical. Okay, but it has to be quick. I have the most important meeting of my life at 10 a.m. He had no idea how ironic that phrase was. The next morning, Julian arrived at the building reluctantly. 9 in the morning, Christmas Eve, and he was there wasting time with bureaucracy. He went up to the 20th floor, the building administration office, using the VIP elevator as if he owned the place. Lauren greeted him at reception with a polite, tense smile. The owner's waiting in the meeting room. Good. Let's get this over with. He pushed the glass door and entered, and froze. Sitting at the head of the table in a black leather chair was Elena Martinez, but not the Elena he knew, not the insecure seamstress who wore floral dresses and bowed her head when he made cruel comments. This Elena wore an impeccable gray suit, hair tied into an elegant bun, posture straight, eyes as cold as ice. Next to her was Marcus, the lawyer, with a folder full of documents. Julian blinked several times trying to process the scene. Elena? Mr. Ashford. She didn't smile. His voice was professional, distant as if he were speaking to a stranger. Thank you for coming. What are you doing here? I'm the new owner of this building. Elena gestured to the chair in front of her. Sit down, please. We have much to discuss. Julian sat up slowly, still in shock. His brain worked frantically trying to put the puzzle together. Elena, owner of a commercial building worth tens of millions? I don't understand. Of course. Elena folded her hands on the table. You never cared to really get to know me, Julian. You were too busy humiliating me. Anger replaced the confusion on his face. Look, if you bought this building just to pester me, that's pathetic. You're obsessed with me. Marcus laughed. A low, sarcastic laugh. Elena remained impassive. I didn't buy this building for you, Julian. I bought it because it's a good investment. She opened a folder. But while we're here, let's talk about the Ashford Properties lease. Julian crossed his arms. The contract is valid for another 9 months. You can't kick me out. I know. Elena flipped through some papers. But I can raise the rent at renewal. Say, 300%? That's abusive. It's the market. Elena looked him in the eye for the first time, and Julian saw something there that scared him. There was no hurt. There were no tears. There was absolute power. You always said business is business, right? Nothing personal. Julian clenched his fists. You won't make it. I'll sue. You're going to what? Elena interrupted. His voice remained calm, but every word was a blade. Calling me dead weight again? Making jokes about my body? Humiliating me in public? Silence. Julian realized, too late, that he had fallen into a trap. By the way, Elena picked up another document. About your urban revitalization project. That land you need near the port? I think you're going to have a little problem. Julian's blood froze. What little problem? I bought the land yesterday. The world stopped. Julian was left breathless. His face lost color. You couldn't have done that. The land belongs to Coastal Investments. They would never sell it. They sold it. Marcus pushed a document across the table. $45 million. Transaction completed at 6 p.m. yesterday. The deed has already been registered. Julian grabbed the paper with shaking hands. It was true. Everything was there. Signed, sealed, irreversible. Without that land, his voice came out as a strangled whisper. Without that land, the project won't work. City Hall won't approve it. I know. Elena stood up, walking to the window. The Miami sunlight illuminated his profile. And you know what's funny, Julian? You always told me that I needed to have discipline, that I needed to work hard, that I needed to strive to earn respect. She turned to him. And I did just that. While you were posting photos on yachts and making jokes about my body, I was building an empire. While you wasted time humiliating women, I was studying contracts, making contacts, investing intelligently. And now, she smiled. A cold, calculated, lethal smile. Now I own pieces of your world. Julian couldn't speak. His mind was imploding. Marcus continued, oblivious to Julian's emotional breakdown. Oh, and there's one more thing. You might want to check this out. He turned on the meeting room projector. The screen lit up, showing the Miami Herald logo. And then, the headline, Pattern of Abuse. Businessman Julian Ashford accused by 6 women of systematic humiliation and fat phobia. Julian felt the ground disappear beneath his feet. On the screen, a video started playing. Sophia Chen appeared, sitting on a chair, looking directly at the camera. My name is Sophia Chen. Julian Ashford canceled our wedding 3 weeks before the ceremony because I gained weight while I was grieving my mother. He did it in front of his entire family. He said I had given up on myself. The video cut to another woman. My name is Rebecca Torres. Julian broke up with me in a busy restaurant because I ordered dessert. He said I was letting myself go. I was 23. Another woman. My name is Amanda Liu. Julian compared me to his skinny ex-girlfriends constantly. He said he was motivating me. I developed an eating disorder. One more. My name is Vanessa Park. Julian gave me an ultimatum. Lose 15 pounds, or he would break up with me. When I couldn't, he posted photos with another woman that same day. 2 more women appeared, each telling almost identical stories. Clear pattern, irrefutable evidence. And then, Elena appeared on the screen. My name is Elena Martinez. Julian Ashford proposed to me and 3 hours later, humiliated me in a boutique by demanding that I fit into a size S bikini to prove that I deserved to marry him. She paused, looking directly into the camera. But this story isn't about him. It's about us. About all the women who have been taught to believe our worth is a number on the scale. About refusing that standard. About choosing our dignity. The video ended. Julian was white, sweating, tremendous. You can't do that. That's defamation. I'm going to sue all of you. Sue. Elena returned to her chair, sitting down with frightening calm. We have witnesses, prints of messages, recordings, testimonies from people who witnessed your humiliations. You will lose, Marcus added, and this story is going to air in an hour, exactly when you should be walking into the town hall hearing. Julian looked at his watch. 9:45. He had 15 minutes to get to City Hall. 15 minutes to save the project of your life. But how could he enter that room after this article was published? How could he look public officials in the eye and ask for approval when the entire internet was tearing him apart? Why are you doing this? Julian's voice was broken, desperate. I wasn't perfect, okay? But I didn't deserve that. Elena leaned forward. His eyes burned with an intensity Julian had never seen. You're right. You didn't deserve this. You deserved worse. But I'm not you, Julian. I don't destroy people for pleasure. I'm just giving you a taste of what you did to 6 women. She paused. And you know what's saddest? You still think you're the victim. Julian had no answer. He left that room like a ghost. No project, no reputation, no future. And as he went down the elevator pane, your phone started blowing up with notifications. The article had been published, and the internet was on fire. 3 months later, it was a cold March morning when Julian Ashford parked his car, no longer the imported black Tesla but a used Honda Civic, in front of a modest building in suburban Miami. He no longer lived in the penthouse. There was no more office. There was no longer a company. The Miami Herald story had exploded like a nuclear bomb. In 48 hours, Julian became one of the most hated men on the internet. Hashtags like Julian Ashford is trash and gordophobia dominated social media for weeks. Influencers made videos about him. Comedians have used his story in stand-ups. Even morning TV shows debated the case. The City Hall canceled the hearing. The revitalization project has been shelved indefinitely. Investors withdrew support. Customers canceled contracts. Ashford Properties declared bankruptcy in February. Julian had lost everything. And the worst? It has become synonymous with shame. His name was now a warning. Don't be a Julian Ashford. He pulled a Julian Ashford on her. Man had become a verb for cruelty and arrogance. He entered the small apartment, 2 bedrooms, rent behind, and threw the keys on the coffee table. Derek had been missing for weeks. Friends stopped responding to messages. Even his mother cared less. Julian was alone. And for the first time in his life, he understood how Elena had felt in that boutique. Meanwhile, across town, Elena was in the penthouse that had once belonged to Victoria, now officially hers. The aunt had passed away in January, peacefully knowing that her legacy was in good hands. Elena was on the balcony, drinking coffee, looking at the ocean. She wore comfortable clothes, a long dress that she had sewn herself. No pressure, no judgment. His body hadn't changed. She hadn't lost any weight. I hadn't gotten into the damn orange bikini, but she had gained something much more valuable, power over her own narrative. The cell phone rang. It was Sophia. Did you see the news? Which one? Elena smiled. Ashford Properties officially dissolved today. Julian is trying to sell what's left, but no one wants to buy anything associated with his name. Elena took a sip of coffee. She felt no sadistic joy. He felt no cruel victory. He felt closure, as if a toxic chapter had finally ended. What about the other women? Rebecca started a podcast about recovering from abusive relationships. Amanda is writing a book. Vanessa became an activist against fat phobia. We're all okay, Elena. Because of you. Because of us. Elena corrected. None of us did it alone. They talked for a few more minutes before hanging up. Elena looked at the city spread out in front of her. Miami glowed in the morning sun, full of possibilities. She had used part of Victoria's inheritance to create the Salazar Foundation, a non-profit organization dedicated to supporting women entrepreneurs who faced discrimination based on appearance, scholarships, microcredit, mentoring. In 3 months, they had already helped 50 women open their own businesses. Elena also continued sewing, not out of financial necessity, but because she loved it. Her brand, Martinez Designs, was growing, focusing on inclusive clothing for all bodies. She had booked plus-size models, campaigns celebrating diversity, and the public responded enthusiastically. His Instagram now had 200,000 followers, not because she posted photos on yachts or posed for cameras, but because she was authentic, real, human, and people felt that. That afternoon, Elena had an important meeting. She walked into the Salazar Holdings office, now completely renovated with her vision, and found Marcus waiting with a folder. I have news. Marcus smiled. The land near the port, the one that belonged to Julian's project. Yes, the city council approved our proposal. We will build a community center, free gym, library, space for small businesses, mental health clinic, exactly what you asked for. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, absorbing the information. The same land that Julian wanted to use for personal profit would now be used to help the community. There was no more perfect revenge than transforming a symbol of greed into a symbol of generosity. When do we start construction? Next month. Elena nodded. Perfect. Marcus hesitated before continuing. There's one more thing. Julian Ashford tried to sell the last property he had left in his name, a small warehouse in the industrial area. Nobody wanted to buy it. And he called me, asking if you'd be interested. Elena was silent. Marcus continued. He said he needs the money, that he is desperate. He would do any price. The old Elena, the one who was humiliated in the boutique, would have felt sorry. I would have considered helping, because women are taught to be compassionate even to those who hurt them. But the new Elena knew the difference between compassion and complicity. Tell him I'm not interested." His voice was firm. "And also tell him that he should use this time to reflect on the choices he has made." Marcus smiled. "I'll get the message across." After he left, Elena was alone in the office. She looked at the photo of Victoria on the wall, her aunt smiling, strong, powerful, until the end. "Thanks," Elena whispered, "for showing me that I always had this inside me." That night, Elena went to dinner with Sophia and the other women. 6 survivors sat around a table laughing, sharing stories, celebrating not Julian's fall, but their rise. "Did you guys see the Forbes article?" Amanda showed her cell phone. "Elena is on the Entrepreneurs to Watch in 2025 list." Elena laughed, embarrassed. "It's exaggerated." "It is not." Rebecca held her hand. "You turned pain into purpose. You gave us a voice when we were silenced. You deserve every recognition." Sophia raised her glass. "Here's to revenge. Not to revenge, but to justice, to dignity, and to proof that the best response to those who underestimate you is to simply thrive." They all raised their glasses. "To our journey." And as they toasted across town, Julian Ashford sat alone in his empty apartment scrolling through social media, seeing photos of Elena smiling at events, receiving awards, being celebrated. He finally understood the magnitude of what he had lost. Not the money, not the status, but the chance to be next to an extraordinary woman he was too stupid to value. And now, it was too late. Because Elena Martinez no longer needed validation from men like Julian Ashford. She had found something much more powerful, validation of herself. Arrogance always takes its toll, and true victory isn't in destroying those who hurt you, it's in building a life so full that they become irrelevant. Because in the end, the best revenge is not making someone fall, it's climbing so high that they disappear from your field of vision. Elena learned that her worth was never a number on the scale. He was never in favor of cruel men. It was never about fitting into impossible standards. His value was, and always has been, in his strength, his intelligence, his resilience, and his refusal to accept less than he deserved. And that's a lesson no orange bikini could teach. And you, who followed this story until the end, if you believe that every person deserves to be treated with dignity and respect, regardless of their appearance, leave a like and subscribe to the channel, because stories of overcoming like this need to be told. And together, we can create a world where no one ever again has to go through what Elena did. See you in the next story. And remember, you are much more than any number on a scale. You are powerful exactly as you are.